Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I am using my new Nightmare Before Christmas cookbook to bake this amazing Sally cake. And oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so excited. What you'll need: flour, baking powder, some salt, a lot of butter, sugar, eggs, vanilla extract, light sour cream or sour cream if you prefer it, food coloring, powdered sugar, whole milk, and Dutch processed baking cocoa. So the first thing I'm doing here is I'm just obviously buttering up my pan. You can also use a cooking spray and parchment paper. You can do this a number of different ways. But after that, I just went ahead and floured the can or the pan as well. Then I'm going ahead and starting to put my dry ingredients together. Super important here is to make sure that you measure them properly, obviously, because it's baking, and sift it. I had to sift so much stuff for this recipe. Guys, my shoulder was sore by the end of it. I'm not even kidding you. So then I'm adding in the baking powder, and obviously, again, like my other video, for copyright purposes, I'm not going to have like the proper measurements and everything. And then lastly, I added a little bit of salt to the dry ingredients. I did not let my butter come to full room temperature. It was still kind of cold when I was chopping it up before I was about to beat it. So I definitely recommend having your butter out for like a good solid hour or so before you attempt to use it. Then I just added in the sugar and I beat those together for a while until it was decently creamy. I was having a little bit of trouble with it, so I had to put a tea towel over it because the sugar and everything kept like flying everywhere. This little hand mixer is not the best. It has one speed and that's super freaking fast. So sometimes it's difficult because it like just really violently beats, and I don't know, it's just like is really difficult sometimes. So then I'm adding in the eggs, and I'm just doing these one at a time, beating them fully into the mixture and then continuing on with the next one. I also had to add some egg yolks, so I had to separate those in the sink and then add those yolks in as well. So same thing, I added in the yolk and then I would beat it completely into the batter and then add it in again and fully beat it into the batter. Then I was just scraping the sides, making sure I got everything super mixed up together and super well mixed. I just said that. And then I added some vanilla extract and repeated the same thing. Then I mixed in half of the dry ingredients and I just kind of spooned it together for a bit before beating it with my super violent hand mixer so that I didn't have so I didn't have flour fly up in my face while I was doing it. And then I just continued beating this until it was super well incorporated. And it's funny because I started to spoon out the sour cream and then I realized that that entire container was the exact amount that I needed. So you can see me struggling here with the measuring thing. And then I looked online and I'm like, oh my gosh, Holly, come on now. And it was just the full tub. So that worked out pretty well. Didn't need any more or any less. And then I beat all of the sour cream into the mixture as well, making sure to scrape the sides and be sure that everything got super well incorporated. Then I added the second half of the dry ingredients. Again, took some time to kind of spoon that together to get the flour mixed in a little bit before I hit it with the hand mixer. Once again, just so I didn't have a bunch of flour fly up in my face. This was a very thick cake batter. This is not a runny cake batter. Like, my hand was also sore from using the hand mixer, so definitely recommend a stand mixer if you have it, but I don't have one, so hand mixer it is for now. But yeah, this is a very thick batter compared to what I'm used to for a cake mix. So anyways, then I started to separate it out. I did somewhat equal parts. I just was giving it, I was eyeballing it. I wasn't measuring it or anything. And I added blue food coloring into my original bowl of batter. And then I added pink and yellow into the other two. And then I just spooned those, or used a rubber spatula to mix those all together. And I love that I have Nightmare Before Christmas utensils to help me bake my Nightmare Before Christmas cake. It just felt like everything had come full circle. So then I began spooning kind of at random the different colors of cake mixture into the pan. This is not how the recipe says to do it. It says to put it into 3 different cake pans. I don't know, something like that. But I was going to do it this way. 1, because I did not have 3 of the same size cake pans. And 2, because I knew it would work, I guess. Like, the whole idea is to have this swirly looking cake mixture. So I just kind of left big dollops of the different colors and kind of just intersperse them together, like you can see that I'm doing here on camera. And then I just took a fork towards the end here and kind of swirled it together to make it look a little bit more incorporated. And it turned out really pretty. Like, I loved it. So put it in the oven, and then I got to work on the icing. So I started with the chocolate icing, and I didn't totally follow. I did follow the directions on the how to make it, but I did not totally follow the directions on how to use it on the cake. It had you put it all over the cake and then refrigerate it and then do the decorating on top. But honestly, it was late at night and I just wanted to get the cake finished. It was almost 11 before I finished this cake last night. So yeah, instead I just decided to go ahead and do my design directly on the cake instead of putting the chocolate on, letting it get cold and hardened, and then doing it. So anyways, I am currently sifting the powdered sugar, a bunch of powdered sugar. Like I said, you had to sift a lot for this recipe, and my hand and arm was sore at the end of it. Then I am just adding in my cocoa powder. As you can see here, it's important that you get the Dutch processed. I don't know why, but it was specific about that on the recipe. So that's what I got. Then I'm just adding in some milk, and then I believe I add in a little bit of vanilla extract. Yep, there we go. A little bit of vanilla extract. And lastly, a little bit of salt. Then I just spooned this together a little bit before rinsing my spindle thingies, the whisks for the hand mixer, and then mixing that all up. I checked my cake and it wasn't ready yet because it said only bake it for 15 to 18 minutes. But obviously, since I put all of mine into one instead of 3 different cake pans, it baked for, I feel like, close to maybe 30 or 35 minutes. I don't know exactly. I just kind of kept my eye on it. Then I started to prepare my piping bags. So I did go out and get some extra piping, the white things, the screw tops, because I lost mine and I only had 1 and I needed 3. I guess you could do the icing one at a time, but it just felt easier to have different icing bags and have them all prepared. I accidentally way overfilled the chocolate one. I ended up having to put it in a glass and set it to the side because I'd way overfilled it so badly. And then I started on the vanilla icing. So once again, going back in with the powdered sugar, sifting that all the way through, getting in my arm workout. I'm going to keep complaining about it until it was all the way sifted through. And this was the moment that it hit me. I forgot to cream my butter before I put put the powdered sugar in, and this was like a heartbreaking moment because I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to go so badly. So obviously I put the tea towel over it, and I did my best to try and beat it with the sugar in there. It was kind of a mess, but we muscled through. I beat it just a little bit, and then I went ahead and added in my wet ingredients to give it a little bit more moisture, because with the butter not, creamed properly and super fluffy, it was just turning out chunky. So I just had to give it some time. And eventually it turned out okay. As you can see, it's getting more icing-y. And it was all good. But here's your reminder. Make sure you beat the butter before you put the powdered sugar in, or else you're going to have to do a lot more work to get the icing done properly. So once the icing was done, I once again spooned it into 3 different bowls. And then same thing again, I did the blue food coloring, the pink food coloring, and the yellow food coloring. But you can tell I was tired because I accidentally did the pink food coloring twice. Then I had to spoon it out. And then after I spooned it out, I realized I accidentally spilled some in the blue icing thing. So I had to completely wipe out where it had spilled in the blue icing thing. And then I noticed it was staining my white counters. So it was just a whole mess. This is why you don't cook at 11 p.m. at night. But everything turned out fine. I put the yellow food coloring in and I mixed that up. Then I did the blue, and I love that color of blue. And then lastly, I realized my camera had stopped recording, and so I'd already done the pink, but now you can see the pink. And then just keep on checking on the cake, seeing when it's done. Then I got my other piping bags ready. I didn't have the same nozzle for every single one of them, so I just used different ones, but you'll see later I made it work. It tells you to use the same type of piping nozzle for all of them, but I really don't think it matters that much because you're going to spread it all around anyways. So yeah, I was just filling up these piping bags, and I used the different types of piping nozzles, like I said, which turned out fine. I definitely was having a little bit of trouble with getting some of these piping bags ready. I'm telling y'all, I was exhausted. My knees were literally hurting from standing there for so long on my hard wood floors. That's so pathetic, but it is what it is. And then my cake was finally ready. So turned off the oven, pulled it out. I was so excited. Showing off my Nightmare Before Christmas oven mitts because of obvious reasons. I mean, come on. So then I did actually put the cake in the fridge for a while to cool, and I realized shortly after that I definitely did not let it cool for long enough because the icing was getting a little bit melty. You definitely want the cake to be completely cooled before you start icing it, or like I said, it is going to get a little bit melty. So learn from my mistakes, be patient. But like I said, and I'll say it again, it was very late and I was really ready for this cake to be finished so I could go to bed. So I definitely was rushing myself a little bit because I was trying to go to bed. But anyways, so I just kind of started doing random patches of icing. So I started with the brown and I made a couple of big patches because obviously we're trying to emulate Sally's dress here. So I was just trying to try and do it super random, no sort of design to it or anything, just as if it was made of scraps of fabric. I mean, you know what her dress looks like. So I did the brown, did the blue, and I did the pink next. And one thing I do wish that I had done is I wish I had done it in a little bit smaller pieces because I ended up only having a little bit of room left for the yellow. As you can see, almost the entire cake is covered. And so that is one thing that I wish I'd done a little bit differently is I wish I had done it in smaller sections so I could have had the colors a little bit more, you know, evenly distributed, if that makes sense. So I did two big patches of yellow because I didn't want that whole massive connected patch of it to be all yellow. And then I filled in that section with a little bit more blue. But I think it did turn out really nice and random looking, so I am definitely proud of that. And then I started to put the design on the cake. I am off camera right now cleaning up my mess of a piping bag. I literally got my hands so dirty because I way overfilled this piping bag. It was a whole catastrophe. So I started with doing swirls on the pink sections of the cake, just like in the picture. I also realized that I didn't cleanly cut off the end of my piping bag, so it was preventing my piping nozzle from properly leaving clean lines, which I didn't notice until the very end, which is super not helpful because I was struggling to make nice clean lines the entire time, and that was the reason why. It's fine though. On the blue sections, I did stripes, and then in between the stripes, I did some dots. The dots were an absolute mess, but it's fine. It's a homemade cake. It got me in the spooky spirit, and that is what matters. I did have a lot of fun decorating it, so, you know, even if it looks a little homemade, that's okay, because it was. And then after I added the stripes and dots to the blue section, I started adding in the stitching effect. And this was a little bit hard to do because obviously it had to go anywhere where two different colors were touching. I honestly was really tired. Would not be surprised if I completely missed some spots. And I also realized later that I totally forgot to do it on the sides of the cake. Like, I did it all on the sections on the top of the cake where colors were touching, but I forgot to do it down the sides, which I think is really funny. I don't know why. I mean, like I said, I was tired. So anyways, I finished up the decorating, and then this is how it turned out. Hold on, it's coming. Here it is. This is how it turned out. She's definitely messy, but you know what? That's kind of why I love it, because Nightmare Before Christmas is really chaotic and weird and somewhat off-putting, and so is this cake. So yeah, and then now it's time to do the reveal on the inside, which is very daunting because I think we all know how this could go, and I really didn't know what to expect because the cake swirls that I saw when I took it out of the oven weren't super obvious because, you know, it had kind of done that like crusting where the flour was. So I was very excited to see how it was going to turn out. So here we go. And it turned out great. I think the inside of this cake is honestly maybe my favorite part. I don't know why. I just am so proud of myself. You guys, I love to cook and I'm a great cook, but baking is, I always seem to screw something up. And I did with the whole not beating the butter before the powdered sugar on the vanilla icing, but it's okay because the inside turned out great. The piping and decoration is a little bit iffy, but you know what? She looks homemade, and she was, and that's what matters. So now it's time to go ahead and do the taste test. I hope you guys are ready for a very tired, haggard-looking, messy bun Holly. All right, you guys, my battery's flashing, but I really want to finish the video and do a little taste test for you guys. So we're just gonna bite right in. Oh yeah. Very yummy. This was so much fun, very difficult. This took me like almost 3 hours to fully complete. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give this one a like. Worked really hard on this cake and she turned out a little jank. The piping, I could use some better piping skills. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please give it a like and hit that subscribe button down below for more October videos coming from your girl. Yeah, I hope you guys, I'm choking on cake. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! Babe, you gotta try my cake!